It's an unprecedented opportunity to be talking to Martin Richards today. Could you please introduce yourself and what do you do for business?
Absolutely. My name's Martin, as you say, and I'm based in Gothenburg, Sweden, and I coach educators, and I do that on a global basis. So clients from everywhere from New Zealand to the west coast of the US.
Fantastic. Okay, recently you decided to write your biography. Why did you decide to do that?
It was my birthday. I got to the age of, let me think, I got to the age of 59 and I saw the big 6-0 coming up, and it felt important to put down on paper what it is that I've experienced. I could also say that my children are grown up and I have more time, and I was looking at retiring from my work at that time. And yeah, I just took the time to write down my experiences of having been a student, a teacher, an educator for 30 years more. And that was it.
Okay, so my understanding, it's a more business-based than a human-based book.
I think it's a mixture. I think the two go together. I mean, most people who do business are people. So I have that focus on what drives people to do what they do. The business side of it is like a measure. It's like measuring speed or fuel consumption in a car. But that's not why we drive around. We drive to go to the shops. We drive out to the lake or something. I mean, the purpose of having transport is to go somewhere, to enjoy our family time together. But we might look at fuel consumption and speed or car performance as parameters in our choice of transport.
Fantastic. What are the right business questions entrepreneurs need to ask?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that question. You know, I've been working with, as a coach, working with people who want to start up their business. I work with teenagers who are considering starting a business as part of their learning in school. And I also work with, let's say, young adults of up to about 30 who want to get out of a kind of restrictive job and do something different. So they're looking at this kind of, what do I do? And that's one of their questions is, what do I do? How do I do it? Where do I sell? And how much should it cost? And that kind of thing. But the question that they all miss is the one that's the most important. And it goes back to the metaphor that I use with driving a car. The question is why? Why are you doing this? Because if you're designing a business plan that doesn't have a why, you've basically built a car with no fuel. Again, that strange metaphor. A business plan with no why is dead. It'll never get off the table. It's just some mechanical idea rather than it being a living organism. If they know their why, the rest of it falls into place. So I nearly always work on why. If I've got an hour with them, I'll spend 50 minutes on why, because then the what and the how all just fall into place. Mm-hmm. Would you like an example, or shall I? Do I have another question? I have loads of stories. So I just want to see what would serve you.
Okay, let me go with this question. Like now we are teachers, and our goal is globally to help students, to help others. Is this an enough goal to start a business? Or to
Absolutely.
Answer this why? Yeah.
Yes. Teachers know their why. They get up in the morning in the hopes of seeing one of their students, and preferably all of them, but at least one of their students go, oh, I get it now. That is gorgeous. That's wonderful. That's gold. To have a student going from, I don't know, to, oh, I get it now. That's what gets us up in the morning. That's our why. And then the how and the where and the who and the what, they all fall into place because they're just circumstances in which we're living. When teachers lose their why, they forget why they were a teacher, and they only focus on the problematic situation they're in, the lack of resources, the too many students. It's, for example, now they're both teaching online in the classroom with a hat on, with a mask on, with one foot in the air. They are totally confused. But when they know why they're doing it, when they remember that again and reconnect with their passion for being an educator, the what and the how don't matter. It's just like, okay, how can I get this, this wonderful feeling of, yeah, they get it. And they get it because of me. It's a little selfish. We want to be the ones who brought that understanding into the world. Seeing a student get it, like understanding from another teacher, is not quite the same as them getting it from me. So yeah, it's a personal drive.
Let me ask another follow-up question here. Like, compared to other jobs, for teaching, you need more teachers. Like, let's say, for example, if we compare teachers to engineers or compare teachers to doctors. So for the one person, you need more than one teacher. Like, why don't all this number, or why doesn't all of this number of many teachers create their own projects? Like, like teachers have a few number of entrepreneurs compared to other professions.
Oh, I see what you mean. I think that's changing. So to back up a little bit, when you want to be a teacher, you've got this passion to teach. Where do you go? What's the most obvious place to go? A school, a college, university. You go to the established places and you do that. That's not entrepreneurial in its thinking. An entrepreneur will look for where else, how else can I do this? What's a more efficient, effective, fun way of doing this? So if your initial stage takes you into a school or a college, you're inside a system which doesn't require you to create new, except quite recently. So let's hang on to that thought a minute. So the school system doesn't create entrepreneurial teachers. They do have to creatively solve problems, which to some extent satisfies their entrepreneurial spirit if they have it, but it doesn't tell them where else to go, and how else is quite limited, because they're limited on resources, they're limited on what the law says they can and can't do. Having said that, I'm working with what we're calling language coaches, who maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, were language teachers in a school or a college, and they say, I want to do this somewhere else, somehow else. The why is the same. So what they're doing is looking for ways of possibly teaching online, teaching in smaller groups, teaching in a different way, teaching outside the standard teaching system. And they are running small businesses which cater to exceptional students, students who are differently gifted. They may have, the students may have special challenges and need more care in that way from their teacher than is possible in a school situation. Or they may want to learn more quickly. They may want to come over certain phobias. Some people are very challenged around learning English, for example. And it's not the grammar and vocabulary that's the issue. It's the fear of being seen to be foolish that might be the obstacle. So I am seeing, and possibly because I'm looking for them, more teachers now who are creating mini educational establishments outside the ordinary and perhaps soon to be outdated, who knows, education system. We've already seen the egg crack. I mean, we have with the coronavirus cracked open the schools so we can see what's going on. Schools happening at home. Teaching is happening at home. Parents are doing it. Teachers are doing it through the internet. So the entrepreneurial spirit of finding new ways of doing things, new places to do things is happening. So just wait. And you're young enough to see it happen.
Yeah, okay, I want to take part in it, but we'll come to that later. Okay, what is the meaning of enough money is enough? Like, how does it affect entrepreneurship?
All right. So one of the things that makes it difficult to go from a job to being an entrepreneur is money. Perfect example. A person who has worked at a company for 20, 30 years is offered early retirement because the company is getting smaller, in fact, because of Corona, but it could have been any other reason. They are so used to having a stable and quite large income that they are scared of starting their own company, because the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to have very, very little money. In fact, they're going to have none. The first year, they're going to have nothing. So it's good that they're getting like a golden handshake, an early retirement package, where they have money or an income for a certain amount of time, so they can cross over. But still, the fear of not having enough money paralyzes them. So I'm trying to communicate the message that enough money is enough. If you're still alive at the end of the month, you're doing great. If you've paid the rent and haven't been evicted, if you bought food such that it's enough to keep your body going, you're doing great. You might be taking out of your resources, your capital. That's fine. If you can still do that, that's fine. And the transfer from employment, stable income to entrepreneurship, and it's a bit like being a small boat in a rough sea. You never know whether you're going to be up or down or wet or whatever. Yeah, so enough money is enough. I train people in the thinking around money. I ask them to write down, what do you need? How much money do you need? And they write down a list, and it's usually about 3/4 of what they always get, because they need, and then they have luxury. So that's kind of cut out the luxuries. So there we are. They're 3/4, and that is my business in the first year. So I go, okay, cut it in half. And just cut it in half. It's like you can hear their brain going, no, because it means I'm not going to have enough, because I've just written down the basics. No, 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 no. There are people in the world living on 1/10 of what you're eating, what you're getting. So cut it in half and just go through the emotional trauma of cutting it in half. Now put half in the bank as a reserve, and learn to live on half. First month's hell. I mean, the first month it's like giving up smoking. Your brain's going, no, I want. The second month is easier. The third month is like, I'm getting good at this. Usually, if they stay with me for half a year, I'll give them that challenge again. And it's more of a mental thing. And the second time I give it to them, the scream of no isn't quite as loud. It's, oh, no, not again. Because they kind of like the challenge of this minimal way of living, because it's bringing them freedom. They're exchanging security and high income for freedom and a little bit of a bouncy income to begin with, until they've got their, back to aeroplane for a metaphor, until they get off the ground, up into the air, it's bouncy. When they're up there, oh, it's fine. And their income may be 1/4 or half of what they used to get, but their time is their own. They're doing what they love. And they grow as people. They become quite resilient. And all these ups and downs, it doesn't matter. And certainly teachers are really good at this, because they have to deal with ups and downs all the time. But they don't necessarily take that transition from secure income to unstable income that well. So they need support, which is one of the things that I do. It makes it sound like I only advise people on money, but it's mostly on finding your why, finding your inner passion.
Very good. Okay, next question. What is listening from the heart? What are its main 4 skills?
Exactly. Oh my goodness. I asked teachers the same question. What happens when you listen to your students from the heart? Without defining what I mean by listening from the heart, they describe it as a way of making contact. So it's not an intellectual brain-to-brain contact. It's a heart-to-heart contact. And it's the same sort of thing that you feel for your own children. It's the same sort of thing that you feel for your partner. It's not a logical thing. It's an emotional thing. So when you're listening with your heart, which is whatever that means, you are not judging, you're not thinking bad behavior, you see behavior, you see something happening. You listen with full curiosity. That's two things. Curiosity and non-judgment in your listening. That's listening from the heart. We can add to that the ability to ask questions so that you have something to listen to. And what you ask generates a different dialogue in the conversation with your child or your partner. So you're asking them to explore what's going on for them rather than looking for a right, wrong answer. So we're not looking at facts, we're looking at feelings. So a teacher might say to a child, instead of, what on earth are you doing? Which is judgmental, you can hear in the tone of the voice, is, what are you doing? Twist of voice, no, I'm much more friendly, I'm much more curious about what's going on. I'm listening for the answer. They may say, oh, I'm putting this knife into the power socket. You are, and what's happening for you? Well, it hasn't switched on yet. Yes. So you might get into a conversation there about being careful, or you might teach them about electricity, but you don't shout at them and tell them to stop because you prevent their learning. So it's all about learning. So listening from the heart, the 4 skills is non-judgment, listening with curiosity, asking good questions, and I'll use good as in, I'll have to explain that later. And the other thing is self-management, because we so want to help kids by telling them what to do. And many, many times we need to do that. We can let them discover them by themselves how powerful that socket is when they put a knife into the power socket. It won't kill them, we hope.
Okay, great. Next question. Do teachers have an entrepreneurial mindset? If no, what do they need to be entrepreneurs?
I think you can support many teachers to become entrepreneurs. I'm thinking it might be the limit of my own ability to see entrepreneur in everybody. Or quite simply, there are many people who just don't want to be an entrepreneur. I mean, teachers or whatever, they're happy doing the job that they're doing. And this is the way to do it. And this is where to do it. And carry on. That's fine. That's not an entrepreneurial spirit. But when things change, people begin to show their true colors. And what you're looking for is a response to changing circumstance, which is, again, curiosity. How do I solve this? Rather than a reaction. Oh, no, not again. Because so many times change comes from above. So many times change comes from outside. And we're forced into it. And if you resist it, you end up being locked in position. So you can talk about it and you can train people to be better at it, but I don't think everyone is going to go for the respond rather than react. It is a choice, but for some of us, that choice has been taken away earlier on, and it may be not as accessible to us, to all of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, entrepreneurial spirit, yes, if it's there, it's like it might be there, a little tiny flame, and you get it to burst. Great, fantastic. Or it may have all but gone out, and my ability to reignite it is not sufficient.
Great. So let's continue with entrepreneurship. Like the entrepreneurial path is too risky. What do you say to those who don't have enough budget to finance a venture?
Get a partner. I mean, use your entrepreneurial spirit. If not this way, how else? I don't have enough money, but there's enough money in the world. So how else can we do it? Just an example. You want to run a small business, but you haven't got the startup capital. In fact, you've got nothing. you might be able to borrow money from somebody who can get their money back within a limited time, a month or a year or whatever you agree. And you need to see what kind of deal you can get from them. Maybe they're generous. Maybe they say, look, I've got so much money. Here, for me, a little bit of money, but for the entrepreneur who's starting up, it may be all they need. We were sending, some colleagues and I, some years ago, we were sending to certain projects in Africa bicycles and sewing machines and carpentry equipment, tools. So we would have a bicycle, on the back would be hammer and saw, so a person could do some carpentry, or a sewing machine, one of those handheld sewing machines. And for us, it was nothing, because we were picking these things up secondhand and throw away. A sewing machine that you drive by hand, nobody has one of these anymore, but they might have them in the attic or in the garage. We collect. We collect bicycles that are a little bit broken. We fix them. We have a great time. And then we send them off in a container, which somebody else pays for. See, everyone pays a little bit. And then at the other end, somebody who had no capital receives a bicycle and a toolkit, which could create a living for them. And they use their entrepreneurial spirit to make sure this works. So this is, for them, it's golden opportunity. What was rubbish in our world, sort of throwaway secondhand, becomes a second chance for them to create a living for themselves and their family. So they would cycle around the town or village doing work, and they would slowly build up their own clientele, their own customers, and even to the extent that they are the ones renting out the bicycles to other people who had even less chance. So the ones who kind of established themselves, they know how to do bicycle and toolkit, and there's been a supply of these. Now they can be the ones who rent them out. So they just do the repairs and rent them out. So, yeah. And that, I mean, that could be anybody. We're talking about teachers. Teachers are people. So every teacher has in them somewhere an interest, a hobby that possibly could be turned into a small business, which they can run parallel to their teaching job. Now, I know that sounds like hard work, but if you don't want to let go of your income and risk going over to a very unstable income, there is a halfway house. There is the summer, there's weekends, and there's evenings. I know teachers are going to hate me because all their weekends and evenings are taken up with marking and preparation. I know that. But it might just be possible for them to do something like that. Get the capital from someone. It could be friends, it could be family, it could be beyond that. Banks are quite difficult these days, particularly in this country, to get much money from. But there you go. There's some random ideas.
Okay, what are the requirements of a business?
Number one is why. You got to know your why, and your passion to deliver something has to match the customer's passion to receive it. Suppose I'm at the moment experimenting with poetry, so I'm going to take that as an example. I'm not a poet. I am a mathematician who's fooling around with poetry. I'm having a great time, but it's a hobby. I can't imagine yet, until I become better at it, anyone doing anything more than going, Martin, could you try that again? I can't imagine I've got a customer base for my poetry, but it suits me. It gives me joy in what I'm doing. So that's one half, my why. The other half is somebody on the other side who goes, wow, look what you've made. Look what you do. This is what hey, here's some money. Can we come to an agreement? Then you've got yourself a business. Then you've got that transaction where what I'm doing satisfies someone else's need or desire. It doesn't have to be a basic need. It can be a desire to read my poetry and pay me to do it. In fact, you can pay to watch me while I type my poetry. I mean, we have the voyeur. Because that could be part of the deal, that you watch me create my poetry and somebody else buys a printed copy of my poetry. So you have to have both sides.
Very nice. Let's ask this question like in the middle. Are entrepreneurs like born or made?
Yes. I think they are made better. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Out of any family can come children who could be entrepreneurs. Who knows? It depends if they have a passion to do something that's not met by the existing structures, the employment structures, the societal structures. If they can't get what they want to do from that, then they'll have to go and not do it on their own, but do it in a different way. So if I really want to work with sick people, because maybe something in my past meant that I understood how much good I can do taking care of people who are sick. If I can do that in a hospital or a hospice, taking care of people who are dying, or in a maternity ward, taking care of mothers and newborn children, if I can't do that, if those don't exist, I will find another way of doing that. Or I will just do a different job and have a very boring life. Yeah. So I suppose there's a choice somewhere where someone says, you know what, if I can't get what I want right here, I can go and do it somewhere else. In fact, those are the words I heard as a 16-year-old. I was in school. There was a lecture for the whole year group, so all of my classmates were there. There was a guy up on stage talking about entrepreneurship. It was from Young Enterprise. And he said a lot of things about business plans and investments, and it went straight through my head because I was way too young to hear that. But what I did hear was him say, if you can't find what you're looking for, you can create it. And that hit me like, not only did he believe that I was capable, but he was also giving me permission to go and create something that I wanted that may or may not exist. And within 6 months, I had my first business at school. So just realizing that you have permission and competence to, and if you don't know how to do it, you can learn how. So you have the learning skill. Then I go from not entrepreneur to entrepreneur. Was I made, or was I born? Well, I was born first, but maybe I didn't get a chance to convert to this entrepreneurship without somebody giving me a bit of a push. I must say I was the only kid in school who had his own business at the age of 16.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, let me ask you this question. Like, let's say entrepreneurs or you yourself try to deliver a message to the world. Like, does everyone have the right to deliver a message even if they are not entrepreneurs or even if they are not successful?
Yeah, of course. I mean, they're talking about their personal experience of, success and failure. They're the same thing, which is how we choose to interpret it. So everyone has the right to stand up on their soapbox and say, this is my piece of the world. One of the reasons I wrote my autobiography is I wanted to see what my message was, because it's very clear when you look back over your life path seemed very, very straight. Like, okay, with little zigzags, but looking forwards, I had no idea where I was going. When I was 30, looking forwards, I don't know. It was like a white storm of possibilities. But looking back over my shoulder, I can see those footprints where I've made those choices and walked for years in different directions. So my message was, I had to find out what my message was by reflecting on my life. And I think everyone's got that life story in them, and their message is their life story. So it's partly what you create by making your choices, but also what guides you to make those choices. That's your message.
Very nice. Okay, another question related here. Like, is being a mentor about having the skill to be a mentor, or like having achieved something in your life?
I make a big difference between being a mentor and being a coach. So As a mentor, I can work with educators because I've been an educator for 30 something years. I know what's going on, or I think I know what's going on in the room, in the minds, in the hearts of the participants, the students, the teachers, the connections between them. I have a very clear image of what's going on, and I can speak to it and I can adjust it as we go along. So that I can be a mentor for. But I'm a crap tennis player. In fact, I have never held a tennis racket since I gave up at school. I was so embarrassed at school. Kids were laughing at me. I quit ever playing tennis again. Now, I could be a very good tennis coach because I wouldn't be working with the tennis ball or the tennis racket, but with the person's desire to be good at tennis. I wouldn't be advising them on the kind of trajectory of the ball or strategies in where to place the ball. Nothing like that. It's who are you? What do you wish to experience or achieve? Oh, you happen to be holding a tennis racket. I know nothing about that, but who are you and what do you want to achieve? There's the coach. So a mentor is someone who's already reached the top of the mountain, so to speak, has achieved something, and therefore becomes visible to others as an achiever. Having said that, there's something very special in reverse mentorship, where you have, for example, a teenager mentoring a mature, I was going to say 40 plus, but they could be 50 plus business owner. So the mentor is the kid, a 15-year-old. And what you're getting there is naivety. You're getting naive questions, mostly around the question of, why are you doing this? You know, the business owner's too busy doing the business, and then have this someone come up to them and say, but why? Makes them go, well, that's a bloody good question. And the mentoring, I mean, the awakening there happens out of naivety, out of curiosity, out of non-judgment, which comes from someone who has no experience of running a business. So reverse mentorship is absolutely brilliant. Surprisingly so, if you've never done it.
Yeah, not yet. Okay, so let's go with another question here. What is success? Should people or should everyone have an achievement in their life so that we can call them successful?
Getting up in the morning is an achievement. I mean, where do you want to draw the line? Do I have to climb a mountain every morning? Or success has to be defined by the person who's achieving. For me, Wimbledon, playing tennis, has no meaning. I can understand it has meaning for other people, but I would just stand there like a lemon. I wouldn't even know which end of the racket. Well, I may know which end of the racket to hold, but you know, serve me a ball, I'm going to be going, what? So that is not success for me. I think it's important that each of us decide, and perhaps do this repeatedly, what's success for me? Is it arriving at some achievement, like an examination? I am now a doctor or a nurse or whatever, I'm a champion at this. Or is it the journey of getting to where I said I was going to go? Is it the journey that's important? Many people think that climbing a mountain is all about getting to the top of the mountain. No, it's not the top of the mountain. It's the getting to that's the important part. It's way bigger than getting to the top. At the top, you're only there 5 minutes, then you've got to go down again. But the journey to the top and the journey on the way back down, together with people who presumably have supported you and you've supported them, that's what it's all about. A pilgrimage is nothing about arriving at that destination saying, oh, I've touched the holy wall or whatever. No, it's about the journey together on your way to the holy place. So each of us needs to decide for ourselves what's success. And for somebody who is not well, someone who's got a chronic negative health condition, maybe getting up in the morning is success. Maybe getting up on your feet and walking from your bed to the kitchen is the pinnacle of success for you that day, because that's what you got. That's what you had for you as a goal. So do they have to achieve something? Yeah, maybe they do, but they get to decide what. It's cruel to sit on the outside and say, oh, you only got to the kitchen in your walk today. I climbed a mountain. One is not more successful than the other. It depends on how well they reach their goal individually. I hope that answers your question.
Let me link this question to another question. Like, okay, if I'm going to be an entrepreneur and like offer a business and then want the interest and the finance or the budget of my customers, like how do I project my image if I don't have like an illustrious achievement in life? Like if I haven't climbed a mountain, how can I get people to
Sure.
follow my mentorship?
Sure. That's interesting. Are we talking about entrepreneurship or mentorship or both?
And the business with them.
Okay. So you're setting up a business around being a successful person.
Somehow.
Okay. Yeah. So let me take tennis, because I know nothing about tennis, obviously. I was just thinking about all the famous tennis people I know. So a few names come to mind. I could imagine them. They could, if they wanted to, train other people to be as good as they were, not are, because they've gone over the top and they're coming back down again. They could use their reputation as powerful person to sell underwear, deodorant, shampoo, other kinds of products with their name on it. So yeah, that's one way of making a business out of being famous, for something. Maybe, for example, the tennis. There's physical strength there. There's endurance. There's grit. There's someone who set an incredible goal and achieved it. Yay! That's what we're buying. We're buying their journey. Maybe if I wear their underwear, I will be as strong as they are, you know, like wearing, as we did as children, dressing up as Superman. But we know we're not really Superman, but we can play the role. I might put on the deodorant of a famous person and think, yeah, now I smell like they do. Not really. I know I'm not really becoming them, but there's something about their fame that rubs off on me. It's an easy way of buying into fame. I just give them a little bit of money and squirt, squirt, squirt. Hey, I smell famous. I'm not quite sure if that's what you are wanting around entrepreneurship, because that's just selling a product. That's probably not the person who had made that achievement who said, oh, I'd rather sell deodorant or underwear or something. It's salespeople who can create a product around their name. I'm just also thinking about J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, and we can all go out and buy a wand now. None of us are going to become more magic for that, but we can pretend that we are, because now that we've got the magic wand from Hogwarts, we can pretend that we've been to Hogwarts as a student, and we have all of that joy of reliving the book in our own lives in some small way. So product, possibly a service attached to the famous name. Yeah, that works.
Okay, let me ask a follow-up question here. Like, okay, we as teachers, as you said, we go to the classroom, we teach, we are happy when our students become successful, but we ourselves don't have a climbing mountain journey. It's a journey, but you know, like it is not that it is not written on underwear. It is not written on the mountains. You get my point?
Yes. Okay, yeah. So the first thing that came to mind was a house or a fire, a house on fire. We might stand in a human chain passing buckets of water to put out the fire. That was kind of a sharp example. The person who's standing still is extremely important for passing on the water to serve the need of the community to put out the fire. So here's a bucket of water, student, I pass them on. I get the next one, I pass them on. My role as teacher, passing on knowledge to students who can go out and serve the community, that's huge. We actually get to walk through the students' lives without moving. So every teacher can take a little bit of credit from every student they've ever taught. In fact, one of the things that teachers love about their students is on occasions, they meet their 12, 15-year-old students as young adults, and they can see their own hand in that student's life. There may have been, what am I making up? There may have been a very challenging student who suddenly becomes the manager of a middle-sized company, and there's a connection between the teacher who helped them channel their natural leadership skills into something that became, for them, a living. I had one guy, oh my goodness, it's going back a long way, 1977, 78 possibly. He was 15 years old, he was very tall, he was very talkative, and I took him seriously. I didn't push him down, I took him seriously. I could see he was too big for school, or school was too small for him. He didn't want the academic life, he wanted to go out and earn money. About a year after I taught him, I happened to meet him on a train. And he walked past and he came back and said, "Mr. Richards?" And I said, "Yes." "Oh!" And suddenly, all that love, all that effort I put in came straight back. He sat down, this man sat down and talked to me, even now, what was he, 19 or something. He was the manager of a restaurant. He had people working for him. Of course he had people working for him. He had everybody running around him when he was at school. And we had a conversation man to man rather than adult to child as it was in the school time. And I could see how a little bit of my help had rubbed off on him, which was around noticing his skill, noticing his behavior as a skill that's beginning to grow. It hadn't flourished until now. And he could get that. And the connection between us, I mean, I can feel it now, the connection between us was really, really strong. This is 50 years ago, and I can still feel it. And teachers get this. We have a little bit of success in every one of our students because we stand in this school and we pass on knowledge as the kids go by, and we do our little bit, and sometimes we do a hell of a lot. And sometimes it's easy. They just go by themselves, you know, and some students are just easy. In fact, they're not the challenging ones. They're not the ones where we learn. But we can take credit 30 times, a little bit of credit. Hey, we should be proud of what we're doing. We get little recognition, unfortunately. But every one of those adults out there in the community used to be a child in school. And every teacher who had contact with that child is responsible for some push in the right direction.
Very nice. Okay.
Very nice. I'm glad you're recording this because sometimes I say stuff like, "What? I never thought of them." Yeah, we do. Putting out fire. We have a community fire, which is there's need out there. There's sick people. There are old people. There are people in the. We need police. We need firemen. We need this. We need people to open our shops. We need people to open our restaurants, our sports, our gym hall. We need all of those kinds of things, just ordinary stuff, but every single one a miracle. And every single one of those adults has been a child in school. Another thing that teachers love is when you get the child of a child that you've taught. Not only has that child grown up and become an adult, they've started a family and they've sent their child to you. And you 30 years later or 25 years later go, "Gosh, you look like your dad." And you get that granny or granddad connection, like, "Oh my goodness, this is like, it's not really my child, my offspring, but I have a hand in there." Like, and they sent their children back to me, and I can see your father or mother in you, in the way you behave, and it worked out fine for them. Don't worry, sunshine. All that behavior is just behavior. It's gonna be fine. You know, we got it right with your mum or dad, and we're going to get it right with you. We're just going to pass you on a little bit. There you go. Next. In the best of worlds.
Great.
You can understand why teachers love their job, right?
Yeah. Okay, let's link this to business. Like, Could you give like 4 or 5 pieces of advice for, let's say, prospective entrepreneurial teachers?
Sure. Well, I'd like to focus on language training as a business because okay, so I want to focus. You're talking about teachers and then entrepreneurship, and I want to focus on language teachers because that's something to do about. And you've gone again. Okay. You may have to edit that out.
Yeah.
Stop. Okay, so the reason I'm talking about language training is because it's something I've experienced myself. I can't quite talk about how a geography teacher or music teacher or a drama teacher might go about this, but I can give an example of a language teacher. We're looking for the product or the service that the customers are going to pay for. Without that,
Yeah, I'm here.
there's no business. We often focus on, as a language trainer, we often focus on grammar, vocabulary. We get them to write, we get them to read, the mechanics of the language. We hopefully get them to speak as well, although that's usually less well developed than the writing and the reading. But that's not why customers buy language training. So the switch is to go from the subject, the mechanics of the subject, English, for example, French, I speak Swedish as well. What's driving them to learn this language? And it's very rarely a desire to learn grammar. I mean, there are people who want to learn grammar because it's interesting, usually language teachers, but not usually the client. They want to learn the language because for them, it's access to a richer social life. So when they're in a meeting and everyone's speaking that foreign language, they don't feel excluded. They can join in, stand up and give a speech or whatever it is. There's some enjoyment for them, social group, or within business, same thing, but there's a bottom line to it. If what they say persuades their customer to buy something and they earn a lot of money for their company and feel good about that because for them it's long-term investment, for example. I'll give you a perfect example. I was working with somebody who wanted to persuade the adoption of a project that was going to cost a lot of money, and he had very weak arguments. He had arguments from his point of view. So I was not teaching him grammar. I was not teaching him vocabulary. I was teaching him how to persuade the other people to buy his project. After a little bit of training with me, he went in, he gave his speech, they agreed, he came out, he said, I'm a millionaire. I have got this project. I thought I'd never get it because they were so against it when in the initial stages. That's why he came to me. He said, you made millions of difference just with that little bit of training. So as a teacher, you don't worry about that. You don't worry about, are these students going to go out and make a lot of money? No, we're worried about, are they going to pass the test? Are they going to enjoy the language enough they want to learn more and then be able to read and write and speak this language? But you're not so concerned about the students. Why? You should maybe you're not. With a business, you've got a business. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I switched from teaching English one-to-one, where we would go through a standard book of exercises, we would read newspapers. I switched from that to asking, what's important to you? and having business leaders just pour their hearts out about what's important, what's on their mind, speaking a foreign language, improved their language. And what they wanted to do was to be able to communicate their thoughts and feelings in a foreign language. And that's what they were doing with me. And suddenly they went from mediocre, middle range to almost the best, because they forgot they couldn't, because they were so emotionally involved in what they were saying. Their language level shot up because they were determined to get through. They weren't thinking about the grammar vocabulary. They were determined to get through to me how they felt about being a manager, being responsible, having all these conflicts going on, having all these hopes and dreams that weren't quite realized yet. That's what I wanted to talk about. So my journey from language teacher to language coach has been a journey of moving from subject matter to client's heart, from head to heart. And then you can hear some themes about listening from the heart. These are some of my tools.
Yeah. That's been like an unprecedented opportunity to talk to you, Martin. I'm really grateful. I cannot say or thank you enough for that.
Oh, very welcome. So what happens to the recording?